Hello and welcome. My name is Ronald van Raaphorst. I live in Enschede, the Netherlands, and I'm a freelance software developer. I'd like to show you two things, which is a CSV import panel and some unit test cases, which I have adapted from code from Luke Bayes I found on the internet, with his permission, he knows. So this is my little web application, and let's have a look at the test subject, which is a CSV import panel. I find this here. This is an import panel, and what this actually does is facilitating CSV data import into the database. So I'm going to select my table here, and I type some CSV data. Let's preview this first. Obviously, you normally want to copy and paste this from a spreadsheet or a text editor or something. If I leave this field by clicking here, you can see that the grid now actually fills with live data from the database. So I can page it. This is really a working grid. And I can add records by setting ID 0, a new one, but I can also re-import existing tables by entering the ID. Goodbye. If I leave the field now, you see that these records with ID 1 and 2 actually exist, and that the changes that will be imported into the database can be previewed. So the grid is configured by reading the fields here, and I think this is very useful. The import panel also contains some error checking, like for example, if I add a new field, the import panel will see that the number of fields in the header is different from the number of fields in the actual data. So it prevents you from importing illegal data. If I would make it correct, then you can see that there's a phone column added here, and that the data will be imported is the phone number 2 and 3, which is correct. So let's have a look at the test case panel. I developed the import panel using and writing test cases, and I have 4 of them, which is maybe not enough, but it works. What you can see here is one test case, which is actually one JavaScript class with 4 test methods. All the test methods start with test, and I'm going to run them now. You can see that it's really busy, and I think that if you look at testing methods, then Selenium is a really useful tool, but you have to click and enter it every time, and using the unit test case panel, you can just program everything and open a file, open a panel and setting values and doing it over and over again without having to think about some XPath IDs or anything else. So this might be, I think this might be very useful. So we can see that the tests have run, and 3 of them are successful, which shows that success is true, and 1 of them, which is test progress, is not successful. So we want to investigate why the test is not successful, and we can see that if we look at here, there is a line that says import test. At line 91, there's an assert statement that fails. So before looking into the code, I want to show you how the panel works. You can just click the test, and then starting it will run all the test methods, or you can just double click a single test and try it again. I'm going to cancel the import now. You can see that there's a lot of errors, and the import is not really successful now, which is because my data is just test data. So let's have a look at the actual JavaScript code for the test, which is over here. This is an Ext class, or better, a JavaScript class written in Ext style. It extends the test case, and the test case class contains some assert statements, like the assert true method, and I'm not sure if I like it that you have to inherit the test case, but I'm going to look into that further. For now, this seems to work. So, like with any other unit test, we have a setup method and a tear down method. And here I open my import panel. I can do that because I pass in my main property, which is actually the viewport of the application. So here I tell the application to close this panel, and then I tell it to reopen it again. So every test starts with a fresh import panel. If I look at some tests now, you can see that, for example, test import panel basics starts with testing that the import grid is disabled, which should be true because we have no import table and no CSV data set. Then we're going to insert some CSV data, and then we should still check that the import grid is disabled. If we also set the database table, which we do here by setting the combo box value, then the import grid should be enabled, which means that the disabled property of the import grid should be false. It then hooks onto the grid, because it also assumes that the grid should load some data. So we hook onto the load event of the grid, and we attach the load event to the onload test import panel event handler, which is just the standard Ext event handler. And we have to do this asynchronous because this code will run and later on the grid will be loaded. So this is an asynchronous event handler. The UnitTest runner actually wraps the test import panel event handler as an asynchronous call, and you can add a timeout there. So what we're telling here in this line is that we want the onload test import panel event handler to be called within 1 second, which is 1000 milliseconds. If it's not called within that time, then the unit panel will raise a timeout error, showing you that this method might not be called, or is not called within the time set. So here's a very simple test, which means that we're going to set some CSV data, and we just want to make sure that the import adapter, which interprets the CSV data, has an array with 2 lines. So I hope you have a good impression of the import panel and the unit panel now. I plan on publishing it on my site or on the Ext forums by next week, but I have to prepare my site a little, so it will take some time. I hope you like it, and for now, goodbye.